everyone. Good morning. For those of you who are joining me bright and early, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I wanted to go ahead and to record a video even though it is a holiday weekend and a lot of us are taking time to celebrate Thanksgiving, whether it's virtually or in person with friends, loved ones. So I wish everybody very well for that, and I hope that you were able to celebrate something special last night, whether it was a lunch or a dinner for your family and with everyone that you're connected with. So one of the things that I do want to acknowledge is that Thanksgiving is a holiday that has a very layered history to it, and that it's worth getting to understand and better research the history behind Thanksgiving, including the roots that it has based in white supremacy and in appropriation of Native Americans and Native peoples. So I want to acknowledge that as a very relevant point to take upon yourself to educate and to understand, because that's a part of the history of the United States that often gets left out. So that's definitely worth respecting and honoring, as today is a day to honor and respect Native American heritage. And Thanksgiving weekend, and Thanksgiving aside, what I wanted to focus on today for compassion coaching is I wanted to talk about the attitudes of abundance versus scarcity. So I've made a couple of live videos or of stories, the ones that get deleted after 24 hours on Facebook and Instagram, about having an attitude of abundance versus an attitude of scarcity. So I've already talked a little bit about this earlier in the week, but I want to follow back up with it because it's something that I've noticed as a very strong theme this week, especially as we've been taking time collectively to experience gratitude and experience thankfulness due to the Thanksgiving holiday and the spirit of being with family. So just to recap, attitude of abundance can manifest in a lot of different ways. So it can be in relationships, it can be in your career, your profession, it can be financial abundance, it could be in your friendships. And basically having an attitude of abundance means to focus on all the things that you do have. So focusing on the amounts of love and friendship in your life, focusing on your success in your job and your finances, focusing on the joy in your relationship and your relationships with others. Versus an attitude of scarcity is therefore the opposite. Scarcity mindset are those instinctive kind of thoughts that come in that want to protect us, and they're the types of thoughts that center around what we do not have enough of. So these are the types of thoughts that are very, very focused on, yes, but I don't have enough of this certain thing. So whether that would be in a relationship, for example, in a romantic relationship, my partner doesn't do X for me, my partner always does Y, and that irritates me, or my partner and I always fight about Z. So just putting in variables here, right? It could be filled in with anything. And the scarcity mentality is focusing more on the things that happen that are either annoying or that are bothersome that end up coming up. And one of the things that I want to point out to everybody here is that what you think about, you bring about, and where energy flows, intention goes. So when we're focusing on an attitude of scarcity, we are inherently amplifying those things that irritate us, those things that bother us, and those things that worry us. So the attitude of scarcity is the attitude that interferes with your self-love, because it's that mentality that when you book an appointment to go get your nails done, or if you go out to have a beer with your friends, that's the attitude that's saying, oh, this is stupid, I shouldn't be spending money on this because I have X, Y, or Z coming up. That's the attitude that comes up when in a relationship someone says or does something and you're like, oh, I hate that, I know I hate that, I don't think I can continue to see this person. That's the attitude that comes up when you're dealing with something like looking for an apartment or a place to live, and you're looking for that apartment from a place of kind of panic, like, oh, I really need to find an apartment soon, all the good ones are going to fill up, I should have done this a month ago, I'm so stupid for waiting till the last minute, etc. So those are all things that come from the attitude of scarcity. So see how it spans over multiple aspects of your life. It especially is prevalent in a romantic relationship, and in as well as personal things, professional things, even like I said with the example of trying to find an apartment, you know, all those things that accumulate that stress. And it's usually associated with negative thoughts like, oh, I'm so dumb for spending money on this, or I'm so dumb for not finding an apartment sooner, or I'm so dumb for even going on a date with that person because it was obvious that they weren't going to be a good fit for me, X, Y, and Z. So those are the two mentalities. You do have decision-making power in which one you choose to focus on. So attitudes of abundance and scarcity are things that flow in and out of our life, and thoughts of scarcity will come up throughout your life, and that's perfectly natural and perfectly normal. Nobody can have their head filled with fluffy, sunny, beautiful thoughts all the time. That's unrealistic. In my opinion, that's a very, very high and challenging expectation to set for yourself. That if you practice mindfulness, if you practice self-growth, you're never going to have a bad day, you're never going to have a bad thought. So that being said, when those moments of the attitude of scarcity do come up, all you have to do is just take a moment to recognize it and say, okay, I'm feeling stressed. I notice that this thought is coming from a place of scarcity because I'm afraid that there's not enough love to go around. There aren't enough good partners to go around. They're all either dating or married. I missed my chance. I missed my window. I'm too old. I'm too young, whatever it is. There's not enough good apartments to go around. There's not enough money to go around. There aren't enough jobs in the age of a pandemic or COVID to go around. So all of these thoughts of scarcity are coming from a sense of inherent lack. So whether it's worried about finances, about a job, about finding a good partner, about missing your window for dating, about not having a good place to live, about having to figure out technical things or things with your family or your friends, these are all things that come from a place of lack. So just notice the root of lack, understand where that's coming from, and from there, then you can go on to address that and to not act or react out of that place. The only thing that can be negative from thoughts of scarcity is that, one, it amplifies the scarcity that we have in our lives, and two, when we react from that place, we often say and do things that are not super, super great. So I have very frequently seen people react from a place of scarcity and react in a way that's either hurtful or that can maybe be offensive or that can be coming from a low energy because they're coming from that place of fear. And I have had many examples of that this week, and that's why I was like, this is such a good topic to focus on, because I see so many examples of people reacting from a place of worry, of scarcity, of there's just not enough to go around, so I have to take what's for me and I have to hold on to mine tightly. And that is understandable because that comes from an instinct of survival. We want to survive and persevere and preserve ourselves. And at the same time, I challenge that because that me mentality of I need to take what's mine, that comes from a place of scarcity and not from a place of self-love, that is very different. So the self-love that I teach, where I say put yourself first, prioritize yourself, that might come off as selfish, but it is not. That is completely different from actions that come from a place of scarcity. Actions that come from a place of scarcity are fear-based and fear-rooted. Actions that come from a place of self-love, where you say, I'm going to turn off my phone today, I just need me time, I'm going to recharge and read a book, I'm going to make a cup of tea, and that can be confused as selfish. That is not selfish because that's coming from a place of love, not from a place of scarcity. That's coming from a place of I need to recharge my battery, not from a place of I'm fearful of X, Y, or Z happening, so I need to shut everyone out, turn off the phone. So notice that, pay attention to that, because during this holiday weekend, it's going to be an excellent time to reflect on where you're at. And things have been weird this year. Things have been challenging this year. People have been put in very uncomfortable situations in terms of a global pandemic, and it has been hard for everyone. And so having that extra amount of compassion to come from a place of abundance, even in a time where things are very, very difficult, makes a world of a difference for not only you, but for everyone who's in your bubble, everyone who's in your circle, everyone who's a friend or a family member. It will make a world of difference. So as I continue to interact with people and see so many things that are coming from a place of scarcity, I recognize that and I acknowledge that and I honor that, and I challenge you to come from a place of abundance instead, in spite of the fact that things are really difficult for a lot of people. And in spite of the fact that it does seem sometimes like there's literally not enough love to go around. And it does seem sometimes that there's not enough money to go around and not enough jobs to go around. So these are things that are present in our reality, and we have to acknowledge them, and we can't close our eyes to them. But at the same time, see what things you can spread love or use to spread love to others, use to spread kindness and compassion, because that makes a world of a difference in a time where there is high tension. And especially as holiday seasons come up in December, going on to the end of our year, that's something to be very intentional and focused about. So that's my challenge for you today. And that's the action item today, is to notice when you're coming from a place of scarcity and a place of abundance, how often that is, which one is more often in the driver's seat. Last week we talked about emotions being in the driver's seat. So focusing on who is in the driver's seat, if it's abundance or if it's scarcity, and seeing if you can redirect some of that energy more intentionally, and not beating yourself up for coming from scarcity, because that's not a bad thing, that's not wrong. You just have power to be more intentional about coming from a place of abundance. So be kind on yourself, be gentle with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you're having any of those thoughts, but just be kind with yourself and with others. So that's my takeaway for today. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week for more content. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and happy Native American Heritage Day. And I honor and acknowledge everyone who has put forward time and intention and love. Thank you.